buckle up because there's a lot happening around Celtic right now. And some of it's absolutely wild, from fans launching a full-blown boycott to shocking new details leaking straight out of that tense board meeting at Paradise. And wait till you hear the latest transfer twist involving Bobby Clark. That one's pure dynamite. Big shout out to everyone who's been commenting and showing love on the channel. You're absolute legends. These were the top commenters from last week. James Brooks are always dropping brilliant comments. Cheers, mate. Robert C., thanks for the support and for joining the convo. Billy Noon, appreciate you for jumping in and backing the channel. You lot smashed it last week. Who's going to make it onto next week's list then, eh? Don't forget to leave your comments. We have 6 news a day to keep you updated with the mighty Celtic. Hit that subscribe button and be part of it. Buckle up, because this one's got Parkhead rumbling like a storm rolling down from Ben Nevis. The Celtic supports had enough, and they've made it crystal clear with a banner that screams louder than a night out on Sucky Hall Street. Not another penny. Now, this isn't just some half-hearted moan on social media. Nah, this is a full-on boycott, proper rebellion. The Celtic Fans Collective has gone all in, telling every single supporter to stop spending a single penny more at Paradise or beyond. No scarves, no shirts, no shiny new Adidas drops, no pies at halftime, nothing. Not until the board wakes up and starts running the club the way the supporters know it should be. And here's the thing, they didn't pick this timing by accident. Oh no, the board were rubbing their hands, getting ready to launch another fancy bit of Adidas merch, expecting cues from London Road to Bridgeton. Instead, they're staring at empty tills and a message that says, "We've had enough of your nonsense." The collective didn't mince their words either. They've called out everything: the stale transfer policy, the sorry European showings, ticket prices that make you weep harder than a Ranger on Derby Day, and the stadium looking more neglected than the Blue Sides trophy cabinet. Even the pitch has been dragged into it. They said it's unfit for playing football the Celtic way. And you know what? They're not wrong. Paradise should feel like Paradise, not a worn-out pitch from the 90s. But, and this is important, they've made it clear their fight isn't with the lads on the park or Brendan himself. The collective said their support for the team stays unequivocal. But the same can't be said for Michael Nicholson, Chris McKay, or Peter Lawwell. Those names are getting tossed around more than pint glasses after an Old Firm win. What's wild is how tense it's gotten lately. The board already managed to wind everyone up with that dismissive statement back in September, then made it worse with a so-called meeting that supporters called insulting and tone-deaf. Honestly, you could hear the groans from Govan to Glasgow Green. Now, this boycott's set to run right through till February next year unless something gives, unless there's proper change, real accountability. The question is, will the board listen, or will they keep pretending everything's fine while the stands grow restless? Because, let's face it, Paradise should be united, but right now there's a real danger of a split forming between the suits upstairs and the heartbeat of the club, the fan. So here's what I want to know, mate, and I'm putting this straight to you. Do you back the boycott? Is not another penny the right way to force change? Or does it risk hurting the very team we love watching week in, week out? I want your honest takes, because believe me, this one's going to spark a fire across every pub, living room, and WhatsApp group in Glasgow. Hit that subscribe button, lads. Let's G it loldy till we hit 1,500 mad Celtic daffs. This one's a belter, and not in a good way. You know things are bad when even folk who walked into that meeting with a bit of hope walked out shaking their heads like they'd just watched the Blues win a coin toss. Paul John Dykes, one of the lads who was actually inside that so-called dialogue between the board and the supporters groups, has come out and absolutely lifted the lid. And what he's saying doesn't exactly paint a picture of strong leadership at Paradise. Now, let's be honest, The whole point of that meeting was meant to calm the waters a bit, right? Ease the tension after weeks of unrest, open letters, and a full-on not another penny campaign ringing round Glasgow like a rebel song. But instead of showing some proper leadership, what the supporters got, according to Dykes, was a masterclass in how not to communicate with your own fan base. He said he walked in with optimism, expecting to hear a bit of vision, maybe even a few home truths, but what he got was, well, he called it flat. No spark, no authority, the kind of energy you'd expect from a pre-season friendly against Cowdenbeath, not a club sitting on over 100 million quid and trying to convince its own supporters that everything's fine. Dykes absolutely nailed it when he said they couldn't command a room of 20 Celtic fans. Think about that. If they can't hold their own in front of the most passionate supporters in Scotland, how are they supposed to negotiate with clubs down south who can smell our bank balance a mile away? You can't walk into those rooms with weak chat and expect to come out with quality signings. It's embarrassing, mate. And what's worse, this wasn't some random leak or internet gossip. This was a guy who was actually there. He saw it all. He felt the awkwardness. He heard the hollow answers. He left wondering if anyone at the top of this great club even understands what it means to wear that badge over your heart. The timing couldn't be worse either. Big fixtures coming up, the AGM just around the corner, and instead of unity, we've got division. The board's trying to play it cool, act like this'll all blow over, but I tell you what, when the fans lose trust, that's harder to rebuild than a European reputation. Right now, the folk upstairs at Paradise look miles away from the heartbeat of the club. The people in the stands, the ones singing in the rain, traveling midweek, buying the shirts, raising the next generation of Celtic diehards, they're the ones keeping this club alive. And the board's treating them like a nuisance rather than the foundation. So here's the real question, mate. And I want you to think about this one. Does this board actually deserve the loyalty it keeps taking for granted? Because from where I'm standing, it's starting to look like the supporters care more about Celtic's future than the people running it. And that, my friend, should scare the life out of them. Hit that subscribe button, ladies. Let's guy it loldy till we hit 1,500 mad Celtic dafts. Here we go again. Another transfer whisper floating across the Glasgow wind. And this one's got a wee bit of spice to it. The word is that Celtic are eyeing up young Bobby Clark for a January move worth around 6 million quid. 6 million. Now that's not pocket change, even for us, but it's the kind of figure that makes you sit up and take notice. Clark's currently on loan at Derby County from RB Salzburg. The same Salzburg that always seem to sniff out talent before anyone else does. So if they fancied him enough to shell out 10 million for him in the first place, you know the lad's got something about him. But here's where it gets funny. Derby's gaffer, John Eustace, was asked about the reports, and he basically said, "First, I've heard of it." You could almost hear the wee crack in his voice, though, couldn't you? Because deep down, he knows if Celtic come knocking, there's not much he can do but wish the boy luck and wave him goodbye. Still, I get where he's coming from. He's taken Clark on loan to develop him, give him a platform, and fair play, he's been doing just that. The kid's only 20, running the show in midfield like a lad twice his age, but when a proper club like Celtic shows interest, it's a whole different level. What's interesting is how specific that report from the Times was. 6 million, January move, the whole lot. Usually you get vague talk like monitoring the situation or keeping tabs, but this one, it sounded nailed on, which is odd because Celtic rarely tie up business that far in advance. We're usually still hammering the phones at 10 to midnight on deadline day, while the rest of Europe's tucked up in bed. Now, before we get too excited, let's be honest, the midfield isn't exactly where the squad's crying out for help right now. We've already got Kalmack, Hatate, O'Reilly, Engels, Bernardo, and McCowan all scrapping for those spots. That's a lot of competition, unless, of course, someone's heading out the door. And that's where it gets interesting. Rumors have been swirling that Hatate or Engels might be on the move, which could open the door for a lad like Clark to come in and shake things up. Still, I like that Celtic might actually be planning ahead for once. You know, no more last-minute panics, no more scraping the barrel on the final day of the window. If we can land a young, hungry, technically gifted midfielder like Clark before Christmas, I'm all for it. But it's a fine balance. We don't want another talented kid sitting on the bench gathering dust while the same old faces play every week. And hey, we've all seen it before. These young English lads who head abroad for a bit of football education and come back miles better for it. If Clark's been holding his own at Derby after Salzburg trusted him with a big move, then he's clearly got the mentality to step up. But here's what I'm wondering, mate, and I'll throw this one right to you. If Celtic are really set to splash 6 million quid in January, would you rather see it go on another midfielder like Clark, or finally fix that right wing and striker position we've all been moaning about since the summer? Because as much as I rate Clark, I'm telling you, goals win leagues, and we can't rely on Deason chasing lost causes forever. Hit that subscribe button, lads. Let's giant lordy till we hit 1,500 mad Celtic dafts.